Hello and welcome to Corporate Culture, your podcast about cooperation, conflict, and culture at work. Today, I'm super happy to have Kalina Hristova-Tréhet with me on the podcast. She is based in Bulgaria and she works in a catering and sandwich family business. And I'm super excited to talk with her about her experiences with that. What are the advantages? What are the challenges of working in a family business? The differences between working in a family context and somewhere else, and also her general advice and suggestions that she might have for other businesses on how to improve cooperation and reduce conflict at work. Kalina, thank you so much for joining today.
Hello to all. Thank you very much, Paul, for inviting me to be part of your podcast. This is honestly a great experience for me also to participate and to talk to you about that. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks, Kalina. Maybe we start just with some personal background. Maybe you tell us a bit about yourself and also about the history of your company in Bulgaria.
Yes, sure. This is actually a really interesting history about our family-owned company. But first about me. So my name is Kalina. I am Bulgarian. I am married to a French man, thus my family name. I graduated in London in UCL and I studied economics and business with Eastern European studies. After I graduated my bachelor, I decided to go to Brussels to do some professional experience, and I worked for the European Parliament for a good year. I worked for a Bulgarian MEP, and honestly, it was a great experience because it also allowed me to focus on my master's degree at the time, which was focused on diplomacy and energy, which was rather different than my bachelor, but anyway. After the European Parliament, I decided that I am not particularly keen on pursuing a political career at the moment. So I decided to go back to Bulgaria, where I joined initially an IT company. It was a very big IT company in Bulgaria with actually, I met the owner in Brussels, and this is how we just clicked, and I decided to join their company for a bit. I was doing marketing there. I probably stayed for around a year and a half, and I really decided that this is just not my thing. And then I decided to work for another company, which was with energy. I just wanted to test my master's degree, to be honest. However, this experience proved to me that these jobs are really not for me. And my intuition the whole time was that I need to do something on my own, like something personal, something family, probably. And therefore, this opportunity presented itself in the best time possible because my parents needed some additional support. And I decided to join back in 2020. It was during COVID when I joined the company. Yes. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the history of the company because it's rather interesting. It was started by my mother, who is a musician by profession. She's a pianist. She started this company probably 20 years ago. She started the company because they didn't have what to eat basically with my father. So my father was doing some business at the time during the transition of communism to democracy in Bulgaria. It was rather dodgy time. So he decided to do some business with Greek people, with some ham producers, salami producers, etc. And unfortunately, it did not work out. And my dad was left with tons of this salami and hams and cheese, which had a long, lifespan. And my mother had the brilliant idea to just start literally with 50 sandwiches, which she did on her own. She found one or two clients, she sold them, and then day by day, she started growing a little bit by little bit. My father joined, and then right now, thank God, we are actually the biggest sandwich producer in the company. We have almost 60 employees working for us.
Wow.
We have a factory which is based in a city called Ihtiman, which is very near Sofia, the capital. And thankfully, we are growing. We are experiencing, we're experiencing some growth, some capacity issues because we cannot even meet the demand.
Even with your help,
Yes.
it's not a lot. It's not enough.
Even with my help, actually, this is one of the biggest challenges in Bulgaria, in any business. Actually, I don't think it's just in Bulgaria. It's about finding the right people. This is really a huge issue. And this is the short, brief history of our company. It's called Eurocatering.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many unexpected turns, I feel, like both for yourself, like from economics to politics to IT to energy to family business, but also your company itself, like starting somewhere else and then more or less, as you described it, out of necessity, some improvisations turning out into like a really big business. That's it's incredible.
Absolutely.
So many unplanned things, as so often in life, I feel.
Life is really not planned anyway, so it's actually a very natural growth and continuation of any business. It's just unexpected. You just go step by step with whatever you're being offered by the market, and you just grasp the opportunity.
There's one specific turn that I would like to talk a bit more about is when you said you moved back from, I think, Europe, where you were, or somewhere in Europe, back to Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Did you feel some, I mean, it's always, I think, special to go back to your home country and, you know, you obviously, you know, the culture and everything, but after you experienced all these other professional environments, what was the thing that was for you the most interesting or maybe most remarkable about Bulgarian work culture when you came back? Was there something?
So I can tell you two differences. One is between European work culture and Bulgarian work culture, and the second difference that I managed to get because of my experience was from the perspective of working for someone else, like for a company, and working for your company. So the difference in the country-wise difference in the work culture, I don't have a lot of experience outside Bulgaria. I just stayed in Brussels for 1 year, and this was a public policy job. This was again in the European Parliament. You work as an assistant. You do political work basically. So honestly, there is such a great difference that is even indescribable. I moved from the European Parliament to in Brussels to a sandwich producing factory in the middle of Bulgaria. So there is no point for comparison. It's just a very different culture. Our processes are requiring manual handy labor, which is which the employees that we hire are basically I mean, they're well-educated people, but you know, they're working for a factory essentially. So they're not the people who you will find in the European Parliament for sure. So that's one of the main differences. What is more interesting, I believe, is I discovered the difference between working for someone and the difference for working for yourself. When you work for another company, I got the sense that I got this sense of an accomplishment. I was doing still very, very good job, you know. I was doing marketing for a big IT company. Actually, I did some very good improvements within the company, and I'm very happy with them. But during my stay there, I was just having this very deeply gutted feeling of the fact that I just don't belong there, you know, sense that I just need to do something else. And I really didn't I didn't know what exactly it was until I moved to my parents' company, because my parents' company, I feel it as my own company. You just take care of it as your own, because it's so important. It feeds so many families, not just our family, but it feeds 60 families. So the sense of responsibility just radically different. The sense of responsibility is great, and you have this amazing opportunity to be flexible, to work for yourself. You don't have to work from 9 to 5. You can leave at any point. You can do your own things in midday, you know, which is great. However, it's a non-stop work. It's 24/7. Like, we do not have the border line between my parents, myself and my sister, because my sister is the manager of the company, so it's literally a whole family company. So this feeling of kind of daughter, father, mother, sister, still there, but it's also the business. It's the whole circle encapsulates our relationship.
Yeah, I
So
see.
this is the great difference.
I can really relate to that, because myself, I also worked for different companies, and now that I started my own business, I really feel what you just said, that you're doing kind of your own thing for yourself. For you, it's probably even different because you have already an established environment with many family members involved and so on. So it's even a bigger team than if you start on your own.
Just wanted to say that I did try meanwhile to start something on my own. It was a startup. It was focused on the production. It was again related somehow to sandwich food packaging, but it was very different. It was focusing on the production of biodegradable packaging from industrial hemp. And it was honestly a great project that I just decided to start on my own. However, it was such a grandiose investment that unfortunately, because I am based in Bulgaria, I could not find the right investors who are willing to invest their money in Bulgaria. I think this was the biggest issue, and perhaps the market timing. But anyway, the point was that I did try something on my own, and I don't know which one is more difficult when you have a huge support system, which I do with my parents and my sister, or when you're completely alone and you need to just hustle up to do your own thing. Both are very difficult, to be honest. I would put them on the same level, but the sense of accomplishment is great in both.
Yeah, I can really understand that. And you said this thing about responsibility. Would you say that responsibility is the thing that you value most in a family business context, or what would be the thing you say, this is for me the most valuable part of my work?
Good question. The sense of responsibility. Do you know, for me, I gathered the fact that everyone is different. Like, everyone thinks in such a different way. Even me and my sister, who are coming from essentially the same source, we're so different in our manner of work and our way of thinking. So everyone is driven by something else. Like, everyone has their own thing that they need to accomplish in life. So for me personally, the most important thing is honestly innovation. I am deeply in love with innovating. So this is my part in the family owned, in our family business, is to put innovation on the market. So we, for example, I decided to start a new line of sandwiches some time ago. It was at the time we produced a special bread which was full of protein with seeds. So it was a protein bread. And I could not find it anywhere else in Europe either. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I decided to put this line of sandwiches, protein-based sandwiches, which are, again, healthy, full of very clean raw materials. And 1 year later, all of our competitors had released the same exact sandwich. So for me, the most important thing is to innovate, to bring new things on the market, even not new things, but just shifted through my paradigm of how I see things. And what I actually like is that people copy us because we are first movers in this sphere, which means that we're actually doing a good job. When someone copies you, it means that you're doing something good. So yeah, apart from the sense of responsibility that we mentioned, I'm just I love this feeling of innovating and seeing something new that I did and I put out there.
Yeah. And to use a metaphor, maybe when you work on your own or in a family context, you are on the steering wheel, kind of. You can decide on the directions that you take, right? Whereas when you're employed or part of a bigger company, you're more on executive and you don't really decide on the directions, right? And that's also a part of innovation, to say, I will try a new path, for example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I agree.
When you told me about this context, so you have a sister, a mom, dad involved, like basically all the family, as I understood it. And I'm also thinking a bit about working with my family. I just imagine it. And I would be interested to know what you think is the most important aspect to successfully work with relatives.
Do you know, I'm also asking myself the same question. I have been asking myself this question: how to establish a relationship with your family who will not interfere with your personal life too. Because with us, this is so deeply embedded in our life that my personal life, like there's no boundary between my personal life and work. They know everything I do, I know everything they do, so there is no differentiation. The most crucial thing, I believe, when you work with a family is to do that, to try to have your own thing, to have your own separate life somehow, and work too, even though you work with your family. This is very difficult, and actually I was not realizing how difficult it would be when I joined the company initially. But in order for a company to be a success, you will inevitably face a lot of clashes. I face a lot of clashes with my parents, with my sister, when we communicate about doing something different from the status quo, which is on a daily basis, because we need to differentiate things daily. And we have many clashes. Actually, we have probably 99% clashes and 1% agreement. But exactly this 1% agreement is where we meet, and it's what's important for the company to succeed. Because from all the 99 ideas that we have generated all together and we have completely rejected, there's going to be one idea that we would all agree on and that we would implement and execute, and this would be the success story. And it does not happen overnight. Like, for example, right now we're facing a very difficult situation with our labor. We simply cannot find employees because the city that the factory is based in is near the capital, but it's not exactly in the capital. It's like 40 kilometers away. So the people we have a lot of inhabitants in the capital. We have how this called urbanization, where a lot of the rural areas are being deserted, and people come to the capital. So there are no people in the city that the factory is established in. We struggle with that a lot, and this is why actually we cannot even meet the demand for sandwiches on the market, because we simply don't have enough employees, and we're looking for them on a daily basis. So now we're facing this obstacle that we need to resolve, and on a daily basis we are discussing that. Yesterday, for example, until probably 10 o'clock, we were sitting for a family dinner. And this was not a family dinner. This was, again, a scandal about the business with some ideas going back and forth. But listen, I realized that the greater the thing you do, like the more responsibility you have, the more difficult it would be. And it was very easy for me in the IT company, even in the parliament, because after 6 p.m., you have your own life. Like, you don't even think about work. You just go to the gym, you hang out with friends, you're free, kind of. This is not the case right now. It's embedded in your life. And I'm not saying this in a negative connotation. On the contrary, for me, it works. I like it. I prefer it like that. Because when I was just working for a 9-to-5 job, my soul was dying, really. And I would really rather that it's the case right now, because I just feel more satisfied like this than how it was.
But you're right. I mean, on a 9-to-5 job, you kind of leave the boat every evening, and in a context like you describe, you're like constantly, you stay in the boat all the time. You cannot leave the boat, really, right? It's,
no. You're deep into the sea.
And I also feel an important aspect is to have the success moments when you have some clashes, but out of the clash comes something. I think that's also an important part, right? To feel that the clashes lead to something, and they're not only destroying things, but they also bring out new things. That's how I understood what you said.
Absolutely, that's the case. It's just that it takes a lot of time for even one idea to be generated, which would be agreed on. it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of nerves, but it does come out because, you know, people say that the more advisors you have, the greater the idea it would be. So I'm happy that I have this support system that we discuss ideas all together. And if it was just me, I think this would be very difficult. Really, you need to have very trusted people.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have some techniques or some rules that you use to not let these conflicts of these business conflicts enter family life? Is there anything? Do you have some rules for yourself, or like how do you do that? Because I mean, family on its own is already sometimes difficult, right? But
Yeah.
if the business problems are kind of into this in one big bubble, let's say, I can imagine that it's challenging as well, right? Like, do you have any suggestions
Indeed, yeah.
what to do?
Well, for me, what helps me when I'm really overwhelmed with my job, or for example, when my parents become very overwhelmed, or when my sister is, we just travel. We just take days off, because this is a huge advantage that when it's your own company, you can go somewhere tomorrow if you want, unless you have something super urgent, of course. But traveling is just to kind of unstick yourself from where you are right now, even for a couple of days. I think it helps, and it definitely refreshes the brain, it refreshes you, it rejuvenates you somehow. So a specific trick, no, but I just observed that just taking a few days off and doing something else helps for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And also honest communication, when you just a little bit, when it becomes too much, because there are moments like that too, you just honestly communicate that, because it's your family essentially. You can tell them everything, and they would of course understand you. So yeah, that's it. Honest communication is also very critical.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because in the last podcast, I talked with my friend Nick about how he deals with conflicts in East Africa. And he was telling me basically the same, to just take some time off, time out, not take any major decisions in the middle of a conflict. And feels like it's a rule that applies to all regions.
It's true, it's true. And when you're facing, for example, a different decision that you have to make, or something that you need to change in your company, and I observe that when we discuss and when we have clashes, I feel like we are at a dead end, and I feel, oh my god, there is literally no way out from this situation. And then probably 1 or 2 days later, when we have all slept on it, we have just stopped arguing about it, an idea comes to someone which is like, okay, this is actually not a bad idea. And it happens very often when you just, I don't know, switch off, I guess, for a bit, and then it happens, the magic happens somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're in the middle of trouble and action, everything, also your focus is very narrowed, and you maybe don't see the whole picture anymore.
No, it's true. And also, what is very important is to have the opinion of external people, someone who is really not deep into that situation. Because the four of us, with my parents and my sister, we are very deep into the business. But when you actually listen to someone who is not even working in the company, it's also refreshing, because they also sometimes you miss that, because when you're into it, you just cannot take a step back and actually see the bigger picture. And sometimes it actually helps to speak to someone who is just very radically different from what you do.
Yeah. So you told us a bit about your sister, your dad, your mom, and yourself. Like, are not family members involved as well, or are you the 4 decision makers?
We are the 4 decision makers.
Okay.
Yes, we are. I think with every family company who does not have who is exclusively owned by the family, this is a case mostly. When it's like how is it called, when it's an entity who has many shareholders, sure, there is a board of directors, but right now our company is not that big to become public, for sure. and therefore it doesn't require the help of board directors or even members.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because I was wondering if non-family members would be part of the decision making, if there would be some problem also of equality. I don't know if you face that sometimes also with your let's say normal employees, that you have kind of like a family side and the non-family side, which feels kind of unequal, or something like that comes up sometimes.
Honestly, just a particular example of our company, no, not really. That's just not the case for us, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing or not the right thing. This is just our company.
Okay, but would you say that it would be risky to mix up like a family business with non-family members, or is it something you consider?
Listen, there's always a risk. I know of families who have separated, even a brother and a sister have separated and no longer speak because they have started a business together. There is always a risk involved, even if it's literally your blood. And I hope it never happens to us. However, I assume that it's a matter of luck to click with the right people if they're not family members. Sometimes it's easy to work with external people. Actually, sometimes it's easier than working with your family because you have this respect of external people. You need to behave like you need to be on your best behavior. And
you have more distance
family,
maybe as well, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
And with your family, you can exhibit the worst sides of you because you know that they're going to love you no matter what. So it's a matter of luck to find the right people to click with to work. Yeah, I think that's the key. And to just probably trust your intuition a lot, because I've observed that this is it's like a traffic light within you to direct you in which way is right or not. When you have a kind of a bad feeling about someone or something, just don't do it, and this is the right thing. Or vice versa, when you have a good feeling about someone, this is the right option. And I really observe that this is true when I follow my gut feeling.
Right. Oh, you shared a lot of learnings already, but I was wondering maybe because I know that also in Germany, where I'm based right now, we have really a lot of family businesses, a lot of family-owned businesses. Do you have one learning that you would say, this is, for me, the most important thing I would like to share with other family businesses? The one thing that for you is really the most important one?
For me, this is a good question. And you know what? I keep track of other family-owned businesses too. Especially in the food industry, actually, I observed that, which is rather weird, but I've observed that the sandwich producing companies in Europe are family-owned. In Germany, it's the same scenario like us. It's a father with his daughters. In France, it's the same scenario. In Turkey, it's the same scenario. And I know that because I make my research and because I communicate with, for example, machine producing companies that sell their machines across Europe, and they just share this information. I don't know what is the universal message I can tell to everyone, but it's just to overcome yourself. When you work with family, it's to really overcome yourself, because when you are bounded by your ego, when you don't agree about something, or when you're just, I don't know, not in the right mood, when you're bounded by your ego, it never works. You really need to have the patience and the strength to just be the bigger person sometimes, and to overcome your ego in order to maintain a healthy relationship with your family and a healthy business culture too.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very deep truth. Like overcoming your ego is, I think, important in so many aspects of life, and also a challenge, of course, but often the right way to do. Yeah.
Indeed.
Maybe to end with, we also talked a bit about the differences between family businesses, non-family businesses. You experienced both. Do you think there are some aspects that let's say, normal businesses, which are not family owned, could copy from this family work culture that, or if I would say the other way around, if you would not work in a family business anymore, what would be the thing that you would like to take with you into the other company?
Well, it's a bit difficult to put it into words, but the trust you have with your family members, I don't think it can be replicated with anyone else. So you cannot take that anywhere you go, unless you're extremely lucky and you're Warren Buffett and this guy, I forgot his name, his partner. But yeah, I think this cannot really be replicated, the trust that you have, because you just trust them so much that you don't even doubt it. What if I work for another company someday, what I would like to take is the motivation. For me, I found it hard to have this sense of motivation to work for someone else. And I don't know if I would have that again if I need to in one point of life again work for another company. Actually, I hope I don't. But I think these are very individual elements that you can only find in something that you have built it, or something that is family owned.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that's one of the main challenges of big companies, right? To keep the employees motivated. I hear it all the time that this is one of the major problems to raise this motivation, as you said, with employees who don't own the company, who don't take the major directions, who don't take the major decisions, but still should be super motivated to do their little tasks. And I feel that this is one thing that probably all the not family owned companies are jealous of, if you are like a family who does its own thing, right?
Absolutely. This is actually a very critical thing. I don't know how other companies do it, but bear in mind, some people are just motivated by a huge pay raise. Some people are motivated by a friendly behavior. I think it's different to everyone. Everyone is provoked by different things.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, the discussion went a lot deeper than I thought. Thank you so much, Kalina, for your insights. It was very interesting for me to talk with you. I hope it was also for our listeners. And I wish you all the best for your company. And I hope that we see each other very soon again.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your podcast. And I wish you also the biggest success. I hope this podcast becomes viral. And actually, this would be good for me too, because I would have some visibility for our company. But yeah, it was very interesting to talk to you too, because when you speak, you dig deep into your brain. And sometimes it's refreshing to just say it out loud.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that we did it. I hope it was interesting for the listeners too. And hopefully we'll be back soon.